What is up, you sexy beasts? Let's have a look at the changes for the 2023 CrossFit Games season, and we'll try and do it in 5 minutes. Starting with the open. Over the last few years with COVID, you had 3 options. If your affiliate was open, you can go to your CrossFit affiliate, do the workout there, and get it verified by the affiliate manager. You could also do the workout anywhere you want, as long as you follow the video submission guidelines and submit a valid video that can then be verified by CrossFit. Or thirdly, in the last few years, you can do it anywhere you want, as long as it's verified by a certified CrossFit judge, someone who's done the online judges course. Now, the main change for the Open this year is they've taken away that last option. No longer can you just do it anywhere you want and get it verified by a certified judge. You now have to either do it at the CrossFit box, at the affiliate, and get it verified by a manager, or submit a video. The Open will remain as a 3-week competition, as we've seen over the last few years, with either 3 or maybe 4 scored events. I'm a massive fan of this. As a past affiliate owner myself, it is an absolute mission to try and keep the members motivated for week 4 and 5. So I think the 3-week Open is perfect. The next stage is the quarterfinals. We're not going to see any real change here. We're still going to have the top 10% in every region be invited to sign up for the quarterfinal weekend. This will still be done remotely, and I believe video submissions are required for all the quarterfinal workouts. Next up is the semi-final stage. This is where most of the change is taking place. Firstly, we're moving from 10 semi-final events last year to only 7 this coming season. CrossFit is combining the 2 Europe semi-final events, so the Lowlands Throwdown and Strength and Depth. They're combining those 2 into, I guess you can call it a super semi-final. And they're going to be running it themselves. So no longer using outside event organizers. CrossFit will manage that event themselves. Europe will still receive the same number of qualifying spots, but rather than qualifying 5 individuals from 2 semi-finals, they will qualify 10 individuals from 1 super semi-final, so 60 athletes competing at once rather than 30. The same thing is happening over in America. So previously we had 4 events in North America. That is now being split into 2 West and East regions, and we're going to have only 2 events. So no longer will we see the Syndicate Crown, the MAC, the Granite Games, and the Atlas Games. We're now going to see 2 events, again run by CrossFit. So previously we had 4 semi-finals, each qualifying 5 individuals to make 20. Now we're going to have 2 semi-final events, each qualifying 10, still making up a total of 20 qualifying spots for North America. Now, one thing I would love to hear your thoughts on: is there any difference between trying to qualify out of a field of 30, having 5 qualifying spots, compared to a field of 60 and having 10 qualifying spots? If you have a glaring weakness, and let's say you come last in a field of 30, there is only 29 other athletes between you and the top place. If you have a glaring weakness and come last in a field of 60, there is now 59 other athletes ahead of you. So depending on the scoring system, in my mind, I feel like you could get punished more in a field of 60 if you have a weakness than a field of 30. Even though there are more qualifying spots available, I feel like you could get punished a bit harder by not doing well in a certain workout. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is there any difference between those 2 scenarios? Now, the biggest change, and the change that I'm probably the most excited about, is standardized programming across all the semi-finals. So every semi-final will have exactly the same programming, the same as we used to have in the regional days. Now, obviously there are pros and cons to both sides, but I generally believe there are more pros to having standardized programming. I just love being able to compare the athletes across the world, have a world ranking as such. Yes, I know that the environment plays a role, and also if you have multiple weekends, obviously if you go on the second weekend, you can kind of have a bit of an insight as to how other athletes approached the workouts. Ideally, what I'd love to see is every semi-final happen on the same weekend. I don't believe that's what's happening, but nevertheless, I just love the idea of having every athlete do the same workouts. This also gives the programming team some continuity. They can actually program the Open, the quarterfinals, and the semifinals with some kind of progression, rather than having random workouts pop up from semi-final organizers themselves. And like I've mentioned in the past, I think the semi-final organizers can still make their event unique and special by all the other elements that go into the weekend. They can make it special and unique in the way they include the rest of the community, whether they run another competition alongside the semi-final like the Torium Pro does. They can have things like fireworks or flames, again, like the Torium Pro. I'm very biased, I love the Torium Pro. But you hear what I'm saying. I feel like the organizers can still make their event unique and special regardless of the programming being standardized. So far, loving it. Loving all the changes. Then, this comes out. the athletes will still be required to compete at the semi-final of their citizenship, where their passport is. Not where they live, not their residency, but their citizenship. And I don't know why they've done this again after all the hassle, with athletes not being able to go back to their country of citizenship. Roman Krinikov, great example. Ali Turner's going to be one. She's now based in the States. She'll have to travel back to Australia. There are a handful of athletes, high-level athletes, that will have to travel back, it seems like, to their country of citizenship rather than just compete where they live, which to me makes a lot more sense, and I wish they would make this change. And then finally, on the semi-final level, they are getting rid of the last chance qualifier. So previously, we qualified 38 athletes from the semi-finals, and then we determined the last 2 spots by the last chance qualifier. They are getting rid of that, and they are awarding those last 2 spots based on some kind of worldwide ranking system. We don't have all the details for this ranking system just yet, but essentially they're going to award those last 2 spots to athletes who competed in a region that was particularly competitive. Perhaps the field was deeper, and obviously there's a bunch of ways you can determine that, whether that is past games performances from that region, whether it is performances from outside events over the last 12 to 24 months, or perhaps they just keep it simple and use the worldwide semi-final ranking. Obviously, if they use that system, there's the issue of athletes knowing the scores from previous semi-finals that ran and that not being fair. So it'll be super interesting to see what this world ranking is, or what this ranking system is that will determine those last 2 spots. But hopefully, fingers crossed, those will go to Australia. And lastly, the CrossFit Games. The only announcement really is that they're moving to a 6-day competition. The last few years have been 5 days. I do believe there has been a 6-day competition in the past. This doesn't really mean anything to us at the moment, as those 6 days can be made up anyway. It doesn't mean that the individuals will be competing for 6 days. Obviously, there are masters and teams and adaptive athletes. There are also rest days. So that bit of detail doesn't really mean a whole lot. Guys, that is it. Hopefully I fit it into 5 minutes. If not, I went as fast as I could, all right? I'm excited about all the changes, bar that one, the citizenship, residency issue. Other than that, I think it's great. But I would love to know what you think. What do you think of the changes, the standardized programming in particular, the combining of the semi-finals in Europe and North America, and CrossFit taking over the running of those? Let me know your thoughts on all those things. I'd love to know them. Guys, stay sexy, keep roaring love. I'll see you soon. Mwah.